The San Antonio Spurs just found themselves in a position that almost no team in NBA history has escaped. After dropping the first 2 games of the NBA Finals on their home floor, they joined a list that is incredibly short for all the wrong reasons. Only the 1993 Phoenix Suns and the 1995 Orlando Magic had previously lost the first 2 Finals games at home, and neither team recovered to win the championship. Now San Antonio becomes the 3rd team to face that reality. Before we break it all down, make sure to subscribe if you're enjoying these NBA Finals breakdowns. This series has already delivered drama, momentum swings, and huge storylines, and there is still plenty more to come. What makes Game 2 so painful for the Spurs is how close they were. This was not a blowout. This was not a game where New York clearly looked superior from start to finish. San Antonio had chances. They battled back. They put themselves in position to win. Yet when the final buzzer sounded, they were on the wrong side of a 1-point loss. That is why this game feels so significant. The Knicks did not just grab another road victory. They may have seized complete control of the series. Looking back at the game, there were 3 major swings that pushed things in New York's favor, and the first one was a problem that San Antonio never truly solved despite its strong start. Early on, it looked like the Spurs had made the necessary adjustments. De'Aaron Fox was more aggressive. Devin Vassell knocked down an early 3 created by Wembanyama's gravity as a screener. Julian Champagnie contributed. Dylan Harper came off the bench and immediately provided a spark. The offense looked sharper, and San Antonio raced to 34 first-quarter points. For a moment, it felt like the response everyone expected from the Spurs. But once New York settled into the game, the same matchup issue that haunted San Antonio in Game 1 returned. Karl Anthony Towns continued forcing Wembanyama into uncomfortable defensive positions. That remains the central challenge of this series. If Wembanyama follows Towns out toward the perimeter, he is no longer stationed near the rim where he can dominate defensively. If he sags back, Towns has enough shooting ability to punish him, and when the Spurs try placing Wembanyama elsewhere defensively, Towns often finds himself attacking smaller defenders. Every adjustment San Antonio makes seems to open another door for New York. That pattern was obvious throughout the first half. Towns opened the second quarter with a huge 3-pointer, repeatedly attacked favorable matchups, and consistently made smart decisions whenever double teams arrived. The Knicks were not running anything overly complicated. They simply identified an advantage and kept attacking it. Meanwhile, Wembanyama never fully imposed himself early in the game. There were flashes of brilliance, but too often he seemed focused on moving the ball before threatening the defense himself. Against a team as disciplined as New York, San Antonio needs its superstar to put pressure on the defense from the opening tip, and for long stretches of the first half, that pressure simply was not there. One possession summed up Victor Wembanyama's frustrating start to Game 2. Trying to make a play under pressure, he fired a pass that ended up sailing into the backcourt. It was not just a turnover, it was a reflection of what New York has done so well throughout the first 2 games of this series. The Knicks have consistently crowded his space, sent help defenders into driving lanes, and made every decision feel rushed. Instead of allowing him to operate comfortably, they have forced him into reacting rather than attacking. The result was clear by halftime. Wembanyama had only 7 points and had attempted just 4 shots. For a player with his talent and importance to San Antonio, that simply is not enough. The answer is not forcing difficult shots or trying to score on every possession. But the Spurs are undeniably a different team when he is dictating the action. When he is aggressive, everything opens up. When he fades into the background, New York becomes much easier to defend. That is one reason Karl Anthony Towns continues to have such a massive impact on this series. The box score says he finished with 21 points, 13 rebounds, 4 assists, and 2 combined steals and blocks while shooting 8 for 12 from the field and 3 for 5 from beyond the arc. Those are excellent numbers, but they still do not fully explain his influence. Towns is creating problems that go beyond scoring. His ability to stretch the floor at the center position forces San Antonio into uncomfortable decisions over and over again. Every time he steps away from the basket, the Spurs' defensive structure changes, and it is not just his offense. His defensive work against Wembanyama has quietly been one of the most important developments of the series. He has been physical, disciplined, and effective, making life much harder for San Antonio's superstar than many expected. Then came what felt like the biggest opportunity of the night for the Spurs. Towns picked up his 4th foul. Jalen Brunson went to the bench. San Antonio started making a push and cut the deficit to 4 points. Suddenly, the door was wide open. This was the exact moment where the Spurs needed to take control. Instead, Instead, New York's supporting cast delivered some of the biggest shots of the game. Miles "Deuce" McBride knocked down a difficult mid-range jumper. Mikal Bridges followed with one tough shot after another, continuing the incredible shot making that has defined much of his playoff run. Those baskets were not just points on the scoreboard, they completely changed the momentum. Every time it looked like San Antonio was ready to take over, New York responded. That sequence was especially painful because the Knicks were missing both Brunson and Towns during portions of it. The Spurs even brought Wembanyama back into the game, yet they still could not capitalize. New York's role players kept finding ways to survive. They grabbed key rebounds, made winning plays, and bought enough time for their stars to return. And in a one-point game, those few minutes may have ended up deciding everything. Landry Shamet knocked down a couple of huge shots during that stretch, helping San Antonio stay within striking distance. But the bigger story was that New York survived one of its most vulnerable moments. Despite spending time without both Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns on the floor, the Knicks managed to hold their ground. By the time their stars returned, they were still in control of the game. That set the stage for what may end up being the defining swing of the entire NBA Finals. Once Brunson and Towns checked back in, New York immediately found another gear. The Knicks started attacking mistakes. Stephon Castle threw away a pass, OG Anunoby jumped on the opportunity, and Brunson finished through traffic at the rim. Moments later, a missed three-pointer turned into another crushing possession when Mikal Bridges disrupted the rebound attempt, creating a second chance that Miles McBride converted into a huge three-pointer. Then came one of the loudest plays of the night. Anunoby attacked Wembanyama directly and finished with authority at the rim, pushing New York's lead to 14 points with just over 6 minutes remaining. At that moment, it felt like the game was over. Instead, San Antonio responded with the kind of resilience it has shown throughout the entire postseason. De'Aaron Fox got switched onto Brunson and drilled a huge three-pointer. On the next possession, he attacked again, using his footwork to create space before finishing at the basket. Suddenly, the lead was down to 7. Then Wembanyama finally delivered one of the aggressive offensive possessions Spurs fans had been waiting for all night. Isolated against Towns, he attacked confidently and finished through contact. The energy immediately changed. When Brunson missed on the other end, Fox pushed the pace and found Devin Vassell trailing for a massive three-pointer. Just like that, the deficit was down to 2. Then came another huge moment. Dylan Harper found himself matched up against Brunson, attacked decisively, and tied the game at 97. A 14-0 Spurs run had completely erased what looked like an insurmountable deficit. For a moment, it felt inevitable that San Antonio was going to complete the comeback, but the drama was only beginning. Fox continued making plays, splitting defenders and setting up Wembanyama for a huge alley-oop finish. Then New York answered immediately. After inbounding the ball, Brunson slipped free and received a return pass for an uncontested layup. It was a costly defensive breakdown by the Spurs, and suddenly the Knicks were back in front. Yet even then, San Antonio refused to fold. Harper attacked again, forcing a goaltending call on Towns. Moments later, he delivered perhaps the smartest play of the night. After a New York turnover, he resisted the temptation to force a difficult shot, drew the defense toward him, and calmly found Wembanyama for a huge and one opportunity. The Spurs had done the impossible part. They had erased a 14-point deficit in the closing minutes of an NBA Finals game. Now they just needed one final play to complete the comeback. After Wembanyama completed the three-point play, San Antonio finally had the lead. With just 57 seconds remaining, the Spurs were up by 2, and the entire arena felt ready to explode. If San Antonio had gone on to win Game 2, that sequence likely would have become one of the defining moments of the finals. Wembanyama attacking, finishing through contact, and giving the Spurs the lead after erasing a 14-point deficit would have been the play everyone remembered. But Jalen Brunson had other ideas. Despite struggling for much of the night, Brunson once again delivered when New York needed him most. He attacked Julian Champagnie, created just enough space, and knocked down a difficult fadeaway jumper over Devin Vassell's contest. It was almost a replay of his clutch shot from Game 1. The shot was tough, contested, and perfectly timed. Suddenly, the game was tied again. San Antonio still had opportunities. Brunson missed on the next possession. Wembanyama secured the rebound, and the Spurs had exactly what they wanted. The ball in their hands with a chance to either win the game outright or take the final shot before overtime. Then came the moment that will be replayed over and over. Wembanyama attempted a quick hit-ahead pass to Stephon Castle. Castle was not looking. The ball sailed away. Turnover. Just like that, the momentum vanished. It is difficult to pin a loss on a single play because basketball rarely works that way. The Spurs have successfully used those hit-ahead passes throughout the entire postseason. It is part of their identity, but in a one-possession finals game with under a minute remaining, the margin for error disappears. Whether it was the passer, the receiver, or simply a miscommunication, the result was the same. After the game, Wembanyama took responsibility, openly admitting the mistake and acknowledging how much the loss hurt. That accountability says a lot about him, but it does not change the outcome. The Spurs still had one last chance. After Brunson missed a free throw, San Antonio got the ball with an opportunity to steal the game at the buzzer. Fox initiated the action. Wembanyama caught the pass on the move, rose up over Mitchell Robinson, and released the potential game winner. It missed long, and just like that, New York completed another stunning road victory. What makes it even more remarkable is that Brunson shot just 7 for 25 from the field and still finished with 20 points, 5 rebounds, and 6 assists. It was not a masterpiece, but it was enough. That has become the story of these Knicks throughout the playoffs, even when the offense looks messy, even when shots are not falling, even when it feels like they should be running out of answers, they keep finding a way. Now, New York has won 13 straight playoff games, one of the longest postseason winning streaks the league has ever seen. And after taking both games in San Antonio, the Knicks are no longer just chasing a championship. They are putting together one of the most impressive playoff runs in recent memory. The most remarkable part of New York's run is how long it has lasted. The Knicks have now gone nearly 7 weeks without losing a playoff game. Think about that for a moment. In a postseason filled with elite opponents, injuries, adjustments, and pressure-packed moments, they have continued to find ways to win. That does not automatically make them one of the greatest teams in NBA history, and that is a much bigger discussion for another day. But if they finish this series and complete the job, this playoff run will absolutely deserve a place among the most impressive championship runs the league has ever seen. This was not a team that entered the postseason as the overwhelming favorite. Many people questioned whether New York could even survive the Eastern Conference. Yet here they are, sitting just 2 wins away from a championship after tearing through every challenge in front of them. That is what makes the situation so intimidating for San Antonio. Right now, the Spurs have not played terribly in this series. In Game 1, New York shot only 31% from three-point range and still won by double digits. In Game 2, the Knicks shot much better from deep, but Jalen Brunson still struggled for long stretches. San Antonio erased a 14-point fourth-quarter deficit, fought all the way back, and still lost. That is the frustrating reality facing the Spurs. Even when they fix some problems, New York keeps finding new answers. Yes, there are adjustments San Antonio can make. Wembanyama can be more aggressive earlier in games. Fox can continue building on his improved performance. Dylan Harper has been outstanding off the bench and looks increasingly comfortable on the biggest stage. But the challenge goes beyond individual performances. New York has so many weapons that any one player can swing a game. Michael Bridges, OG Anunoby, Karl Anthony Towns, Miles McBride, Landry Shamet, the list keeps going. If multiple shooters catch fire at the same time, the Knicks become incredibly difficult to stop. That has been the story throughout this postseason. Opponents have played well against New York and still watched games slip away. The Knicks have repeatedly found another level when elimination games or crucial moments arrive. Their offense can suddenly explode, turning close contests into victories before opponents even realize what happened. Still, writing off San Antonio completely would be a mistake. This team has built its entire playoff identity around responding to adversity. Every round has presented a challenge that looked overwhelming. Every time, the Spurs found a way to answer. That history is the only reason there is still room for hope, but there is no denying how steep the climb has become. If you are enjoying these NBA Finals breakdowns, make sure to subscribe, like the video, and turn on notifications so you do not miss the next update as this series continues to unfold. Because from San Antonio's perspective, Game 2 feels especially painful. They did the hardest part. They erased the deficit. They grabbed the lead. They forced the stop. They secured the rebound. They had a chance to either win the game or head to overtime on their home floor. Then one miscommunication changed everything. Now the Spurs head on the road trailing 0-2, staring at a situation no team in NBA Finals history has ever overcome. The odds are against them, the pressure is mounting, and the Knicks are playing the best basketball of their lives. If San Antonio is going to make history, the comeback has to start immediately.